Well, I guess that's all locked up tight now, as it should be. Hiya there, Jodie.
Oh, hi, Sam.
Well, everything's all safe down here. Let's go upstairs. Need a hand with him? Is he too heavy?
No, I can manage fine, thank you.
Well, on our way to the children's department once again. Okay, it's clear. The customers have all gone home now.
Hocus,
Today's special, it's for everyone. Today's special, come join in the fun. With magic everywhere,
a world for us to share.
and friendly faces, hoping that you want to meet us there. For today's special, it's about to appear, it's about to appear. Today's special, shout it loud and clear. Today's special.
Today's special is Reunion, Part 1.
Welcome to today's podcast. We are dedicated to telling the stories of classic Canadian television from the people who lived them and the people who made them. And today, oh my goodness, I am the most excited to do this first part of today's special show. We have two parts. This one, I have Nina Keogh, who played Muffy, who's sitting in the background right there. I have Cheryl Wagner, who played Mrs. Pennypacker, and I have Robyn Hayle, who we all know as the voice of the TXL Series 4 computer. So, welcome, ladies. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, like I said, before we get on with the whole stories and stuff, I feel like I've known you ladies my entire life. Okay? Because I watch today's special. I watch it with my own children. My daughter loves it. My son loves it. As I was telling Nina a little while ago, my daughter growing up used to pretend she was Muffy.
Aww.
She would go get a pink feather boa and wrap it around herself and try and talk and rhyme when she was like 4 years old all the time. So she used to pretend she's Muffy, and she's going to kill me. She's like 12 and a half now. So she's going to kill me when she hears that I said this, but oh well, that's what dads do. So
He's 30.
yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Okay, so the very first thing I want to ask about, ladies, and I want to hear the story from all three of you. What was your audition process like? Like, what did you have to audition to get the roles you have, or were you just?
I don't think I did. I think because I knew Nina, because as Pennypacker, I came in later.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what season it was, but Nina, I think, gave a good word as she was busy building Mrs. Pennypacker, probably saying, who can do this? And she thought of me.
Right. And I had been working with Clive on Sesame Street, actually. And then he just came over and said, well, I've got this new show, want to do it? Like, yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. That sounds great to me. Yeah. So
That's the way you like to get a job. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Come on in. Come on in. The water's fine. Yeah.
That's the best way. That's the best way of finding a job, I guess.
Totally. Oh yeah, totally.
Although anyway, I have a funny story about how I first met Clive and how
Please tell.
Because I did have an audition process with Clive. I did have an audition process for Sesame Street. And I was a baby because I had just come to Toronto and I was very young. I was 19. And I had a fight with my boyfriend that morning. And I was a wreck. I was devastated. I was a mess. It's just terrible. And at that point I could sight sing actually, honest to God, I could pretty much sight sing a Coltrane solo. I could sight sing anything. So even through, well, I started training so young, even through the murky weepiness, because I think I like practically cried through the whole audition. Then I found out that I got the job, and I honestly thought, you mean the name above mine? Like, this has got to be a mistake. There's no way I got this job. There's no way I got this job. And I got the job, and then worked with Clive for, the next I think it was 2 years. I did 2 years on Sesame Street, and then 5 years. It was 5 years, right?
I think so.
5 years. So
I think there was like 5 seasons of Today's Special.
I still believe to this day there was an error.
Well,
thank God, thank God.
You ladies are the voices of some iconic people. And again, even though Mrs. Pennypacker, we'll go to Mrs. Pennypacker, even though she came in maybe the last 3 seasons of the show, she's still vivid in my mind and in a lot of other people's minds too. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoyed Mrs. Pennypacker. Right. Just like we said earlier, Mrs. Pennypacker's tea party, right? I absolutely loved it. And my producer, who's sitting off on the side here, said there are 7 seasons of Today's Special. 7 seasons.
Okay.
And so, like I said, I remember Mrs. Pennypacker. I absolutely remember Muffy. And not only were you, like I said, Robyn, were you the voice of TXL, but you were also the narrator of the whole show.
Yes.
Right? So
I did the animated voices for the animation. I did the voices.
Now, did you ladies have to do a lot of ADR?
I don't remember much.
I'll tell you, I didn't do ADR, but I did a pre-recording because when Clive asked me to do the show, I said, I think I might be pregnant. And he said, that's okay, we'll work around that. Ha ha ha, I thought that was a great joke. Anyway, so when I got really pregnant towards the end of it, and I was working that whole time I was pregnant.
Right, I forgot.
Clive was stuffing me in trunks when my belly was out to here. It was fun. But as I was getting close to delivery time, the show was still in production. So what I did was Clive and I was in the hospital. Clive put a hospital bed in the recording studio, and I was lying down and the mic was hanging down. He actually rented a real hospital bed, and he was out there in the control room, and so I had to pre-record a lot of Muffy stuff. And then our colleague and friend Bob Stutt, who played Mort Mouse, he operated Muffy for, I don't know, a few shows, couple of shows or whatever, to my pre-recorded voice. But the trouble is, when you're lying down, your voice is very different.
Oh, I love it.
That explains it. Okay.
Because I noticed that. And also
different.
Bob Stutt and I both have very different ways and styles of operating. And so I could, like, the way he operated Muffy was not the way I operated Muffy. So she has a different look and sound to her for those few shows. So
that explains it. Okay, because I was saying I was watching some of the shows that are found on YouTube for research purposes, and I noticed that when the credits came up, it was 2 people on Muffy, and I'm like, I don't remember that. I thought it was just Nina, but now that explains it. Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened, and then I came back. I don't know. I came back after, of course, as quickly as I could. But that was it. And speaking about 2 people on a puppet, Cheryl operated Mrs. Pennypacker. And I just remember you singing the Tea Party song so beautifully, Cheryl, and it's really, it was difficult. It was wordy, and it was, and so I have this great picture of Cheryl and me both working Mrs. Pennypacker. We're trying to open the combination to a locker. I don't know if you remember that, hon. And you got Mrs. Pennypacker, and I'm operating her hands and trying to open this.
Both hands.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a great photo of us, because I'm like tucked under Mrs. Pennypacker's dress comes down here, and you're over here, and but I did that with Bobby too, and Sam would knit, and so I would do both his hands, and I do actual knitting, like real knitting.
Yeah, because Sam was a live hand puppet.
Yeah.
Right? So he had a live hand. So did you guys sing live?
Yeah, very often.
Was it it wasn't live, it was all recorded songs?
No.
No?
No, they were all live. I never sang. So
but
I sang the record a little bit, yeah.
But I did record my songs because I'm not particularly musically gifted, and I was very nervous about singing. So what I had to have, it was a very interesting experience, because I realized I could only really hear the music if I saw the notes. So they would provide me with the music written out, and I'd record it. But I learned about myself that I had actually pre-recorded in my head the exact song, and but I didn't know how to access that because I was musically insecure. So to hear that you can sing Coltrane blows my mind. But in Nina's musical, and I had no musical background, and was very insecure, and I'd find myself, like if I had to get up in the middle of the night and toddle down the hall or something, I'd realize that what I was hearing in my internal music was perfectly the song I had to sing. For some reason, I didn't have the confidence and ability to access that live in the studio. So Clive and what was her name? Bella Rube, or what was her last name? Anyway, they would
Marnie.
They would provide me with the music and written out, and that's how I would be able to hear it. I could hear it if I saw it, and then I could record it but not access it. So that's called weird, but there it is.
Oh, just again, I just in fairness, when I sung the Coltrane solo, it wasn't as fast as he played it.
Okay.
Just so we're clear. That's not.
Look who's showing up.
He's connecting to audio.
Yeah, it's gonna pop in here in just a second here.
Okay.
I hope.
Well, it says
there he is.
Hey.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Not too late, actually. Not too late.
Okay. Hi,
ladies
guys.
and gentlemen, Bob Dermer. He played Sam Crenshaw on today's special.
Hi, Kevin.
You resolved your issue.
Hi, Robyn. Hi, Cheryl. There's everyone.
Hey, Bobby.
Now we're gonna backtrack a little bit, because I'm gonna ask Bob the same kind of questions I was asking the ladies. Now that I have all four of you here, did you have an audition process to be Sam?
I'm thinking back. I guess I met Clive. I don't think of it as I didn't think of it as an audition. No, I think I was offered the job. I don't think I wasn't auditioning against anyone else. Not like that.
Now I'm gonna ask you a question of all of you. Okay. Did you have creative license with your characters? Like, did you have to do certain things because Muffy did certain things, or Sam did certain things, or TXL only allowed to say certain things, or Miss Pennypacker or something like that? Did you have creative license, or did you have to follow some streamline?
Do you mean a script?
Well, yes, but were you able to go off script?
No.
Sometimes.
No, because it's hard to go off script, because
you couldn't.
You have a cue. It's a cue for the camera cut.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cue for the other actor, and I sure as hell wasn't going off script. I was talking crime.
I have to be honest, I wasn't going off script either, because I was terrible. I was just awful. But I would show up I had a wall, basically a padded wall, when Bob and I were together on the set.
That was a cell, sweetie,
Yeah, well,
a padded cell.
I had my own little padded cell with my little monitor and my little music stand and my little chair, and I just sort of sit back and, you know, pretty much just cold read the stuff, and we'd have a good time. Except for that year. Now help me out here, because I swear I remember this. Do you remember the year that the crew built me a house?
No.
They built me, it was the cutest little thing. And it's like, instead of my usual padded cell, it was a booth. Yeah. And it had like a little window, and it had like a little place for my monitor, and they had a door with a star on it. And there was there was like a little place about like for a plant. They put like a plant. So
really?
I had a house.
They were such good people.
They were so nice.
So when we would see Sam in the computer room talking with TXL, you guys were doing it like live right there, like back and forth, or
recording? Yes, we were both there recording.
Yes,
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I want to say something though, Kevin.
Sure.
I went off script plenty.
You sure did.
And the writers and I, it was hard for them because I would try and say things that I felt like Sam would say them. And the writers would bark at me. And I think after a while, they kind of gave up. And I didn't do much in the way. And I always gave the proper cues to the other person. But I did sometimes phrase things a little bit different, or add a little something or something.
Well, I mean, I will say that, oh, go on. Sorry, Bob.
That's okay. I'm done.
Oh, you're done. Okay. I did notice that TXL's character did change over the course of the show. Like, I started out as, I think, well, you know, the way they do these television shows, the mother figure, the father figure, brother, you know, they try to have the full family represented. And I was some kind of a mother sort of idea, I think. That was the idea. But as the show progressed, TXL just got snarkier and snarkier. Did you notice that? Like, she was just like, can we swear? Are we allowed?
Yeah, you can't. Now, I will have to beep it out when we edit, but go ahead.
Oh no, it's for adults, isn't it?
What a bitch.
Yeah,
what
she was a
bitch. Oh, bitch. She turned.
I did notice that TXL could get a little bit sarcastic.
Yeah.
As the years went on.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi,
Did you go off script?
I think I probably did. I don't really remember, but maybe people who have never worked as television puppeteers should appreciate that we work looking down at a monitor because our heads can't be in the shot. And we tend to surround the monitor with our scripts, right? So that we can read, you know.
That's right? Really?
Really? I didn't know that.
So
now I was going to ask this question. I know, Robyn, have you ever done puppets?
No.
No? Okay. So I was going to ask this question, but is it? I know it's the answer is probably a resounding yes, but is it tough being a puppeteer? Like, is it?
It's wonderful fun because you're allowing some part of yourself to get expressed that usually doesn't get expressed in any other way. So what you often find I found through time going to Puppeteers of America festivals, etc., that often the solo puppeteers, people who created their own show and did it, would be very quiet and insular and shy, but who came out through their puppets was often very surprised. So it's an expression often of your inner self that doesn't get out much anymore.
It's true. There's an alter ego in there, isn't there?
Yeah, and for me with Pennypacker I have a great sense of, I was handed a puppet and her kind of life issues, but I was given total freedom for expressing who she was. And it's interesting because someone mentioned what they remembered about Mrs. Pennypacker. My strongest memory of her as a personality was she had the hots for Sam.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did. And so it was always about Mr. Crenshaw or whatever, you know. And so I had a lot of fun with that.
And Cheryl delivered. I mean, I built the puppet and Cheryl did exactly what I was hoping that puppet would sound like. You know, just very jolly and very, I don't know, there was this sexual undertone. You know,
we were young. Don't forget.
We were young, yeah. But
you
it
know,
was
the
so
truth is,
fun.
puppets are just the skin, and it's the puppeteer that is the heart and the soul of the puppet. That's where the character comes from the puppeteer.
Oh,
It's not an appearance. That it's the yes, there's an outward appearance, but it's the puppeteer that is the heart and soul of the puppets. By the way, I was an actor since I was 8. So when I was given an opportunity to do puppets, my first response was, I've never touched a puppet in my life. And Noreen Young said, don't worry, I'll show you, it's easy. And that's how I got into puppetry.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history. Isn't it?
Now, do you guys have any favorite shows? Did you have any of your favorite episodes?
Yeah. They're not happy episodes.
Oh,
well, my favorite, I think, are opera, where
oh yeah, oh God, we love
that.
that.
That was all pre-recorded because there was a lot of movement, a lot of choreography. That was one of the best shows. We were all in it, weren't we?
It was yes, it was
we all
the
got
Three
to
Bears.
sing. Beautiful show. I mean, incredible production values. Jeff was dancing his little heart out. At one point, he kicked it so high that it ripped his pants in the butt.
Well, wait a second, Nina. You have to say the show was the Three Bears, right?
Well, it was called
That
opera.
was- Yes, but we have to point out that was the show with the Three Bears.
Okay, that was okay.
Jeff was Baby Bear, and I was Papa Bear. No, you were.
I wasn't in it. I
You weren't?
did that while I was in bed in a hospital.
Oh, okay. Muffy was in it. She played, but that would have
That
been.
wasn't me. That was
That
Bob.
wasn't you. That was Bob.
But the
Yeah.
show Jack Frost is the musical show we did. That
Yes.
was just
That was also
absolutely
great.
amazing. And opera, it was not Three Bears. Opera was opera. It was la 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 da 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 da. Remember that? Anyway.
No, I only remember, I'm Papa Bear. My name is Papa Bear. And
Right,
I don't
that's
remember
another show.
what that was called.
That was a different show. I don't know if
was it?
that was within.
I loved that show. That was one of my favorites.
Okay, I have a question. I'm sorry. I'm
Penelope.
still lives.
That
The
was
42
Sam's
lives
cat.
of Penelope. That's right. Penelope. Children and animals, right?
Robyn, you said you had a question?
Oh, didn't you guys get to like meet Oscar Peterson?
Yeah,
Yes.
he did a
And
couple.
How is that not your favorite show? Like I'm sorry.
That was incredible.
The jealousy,
We also met
and you know
Karen
what?
Kane.
you also what?
We also met Karen Kane.
Karen Kane.
Karen Kane.
Yeah.
I had a piano. My grand piano was from Bourbon Street down on Queen from the old days. And it was a piano that Oscar Peterson had played. And I'd always wanted a grand piano, and I had studied for quite a long time. And then I did this show with Oscar Peterson, and I told him. And then I have a picture of myself with Muffy and Oscar, and I put it in a little frame, and I kept it on my grand piano, just knowing his DNA was on my piano keys,
Really?
But yeah, he was a lovely guy, and he was one of many people that we met, isn't he? Who
Yeah.
we really enjoyed. We had Sharon Lawson Bram on, we had Bruce Coburn, Oh God.
You had Bruce Coburn. You see, you had a very separate world than the world that I
I
kind of
know. I'm
shared,
sorry you missed that.
I really am sorry I missed that.
Yeah.
You ever been a puppeteer?
I don't know. This would get, doesn't your arm get just so terribly sore? I would think.
Yeah, Kevin, you asked how hard it was to be a puppeteer, and we sort of didn't really say at that moment, but it's physically very, very strenuous.
Yes.
And I think a lot of us are really overbuilt on the one side that we work from. Most of us are right-handed, but you're very overbuilt. Your arm, like we would challenge cameramen to, arm wrestling, and they'd go, no, because we are strong. We're very strong. I'm still very, very strong. I've got muscles like. But your whole back, the whole right side of your back was much bigger than your left side. Your arm, I could put a sweater on my left arm. It wouldn't even go over my right arm.
Wow.
And I had
Let me tell you a story. I was in New York City once when we were shooting the show, and I get into a taxi cab, and the cab driver says to me, "You a baseball player?" I said, no. We drive on a little bit. He says, "You a bowler?" I said, "No." He's shaking his head, and I said, why were you asking me those odd questions? He says, "Because you're the first guy in 6 months who's been able to open that back door with one hand."
Oh, I love it.
Oh, wow.
And that's all about, talking about strength from being a puppeteer.
Well, it looked like, at least from the viewer point of view, it looked like, I know Muffy looks pretty light because she's sitting back there, but
yes, she was.
I'm assuming Sam and maybe even Miss Pennypacker might have been light too, because it looks like she was made of foam. It looked, was it foam? But it looked like Sam was pretty heavy. No,
he wasn't. In fact, he had his body was made out of foam. And I guess there was a little frame. I don't even know that there was a framework in there. I think he was
sometimes there's a piece of wire. Yeah.
I don't even know that there was, Nina. I think it was just, he was glued into that shape.
Yeah.
And then the coat came over it, and he held his shape. Yeah. And so there wasn't even a piece of wire, Nina.
Now, I know over the years, a few members of the cast has passed away. Now I'm talking about Nikki.
Yeah. Well, Nikki. Well, I know Nikki because I worked with Nikki, and we actually became very close friends for many, many years. And she was extraordinary in so many ways. She was one of the only. I'm going to get this wrong. Nikki, I'm so sorry. But she was a kabuki dancer. I don't know if you know that. And she would actually go to Asia and be a kabuki dancer.
Oh, wow.
One of the few, non-Asian kabuki dancers. And she was quite extraordinary. She was
so well trained in mime, wasn't she? She was probably with Lecoq.
Oh, she was phenomenal.
With Lecoq in Paris.
I don't know this. I honestly don't know, but I know that she was with Mummenschanz for a while.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
She started as a dancer, and her knees went, I think, and that's why she moved to puppeteering.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
As a child, I used to be deathly afraid of clowns and mimes and all that sort of stuff. But
Mime Lady was not a
That's what I was going to say. I remember when I watched today's special, Nikki as the Mime Lady, I was like, she's like one of my best friends in the world. And as I said earlier, I feel like I've known you all for a very, very long time, my entire life. You guys have made such a huge impact on not only on my life, but on tons and tons of other people's and other kids' lives ever.
We used to get fan mail too.
All over.
We used to get fan mail from all over the place, and it was so sweet. They would
still do.
You still get
I recently, in the past 6 months, I've had a letter from Oman and from the UAE, and they're both huge, and also from London, and they're all huge fans. they're sending me, one of them from Oman sent me something to be autographed with a prepaid envelope to send back to them. Yeah, we have friends all over the world.
Well,
You're right,
now that
Peg.
it's on YouTube, you know, anybody in the world except Russia can see our show. And sorry, right now, as you watch this, we are very sad about the Ukraine. But I think, you know, it used to be that
Start talking about that.
yeah, don't get me started. Anyway, you couldn't see our show unless you had lived in Ontario, and then it was sold to PBS in New York, and then it was sold to Nickelodeon in the States, where we became the #1 show on Nickelodeon, which is pretty amazing.
For 2 years, the 2 years
Yeah.
that we were on Nickelodeon, we were the #1 show.
Yeah.
Out of, like,
Yeah, it was the most expensive show TVO had ever done when we did it.
Yeah.
In fact,
It was quite brilliant, Kevin, the way it was researched. I mean,
Yeah.
they brought children in, showed them episodes, watched how they watched the show, what they looked at.
Child
TVO
psychologist.
was so good at children's programming. We were doing a show called Read Along, and people came up from PBS to visit our studio, and they assumed that we were a national network, that it was called TVO or OECA in those days, Ontario Educational Communication Authority,
Yeah.
before it was TVO. And they assumed that that was a national broadcaster. And we said, no, we're Ontario, we're a provincial.
And Alberta. Strange
Yes.
enough, Alberta as well.
Access Alberta.
Access Alberta.
That's where we played.
Education.
Ontario, and today's special never even had a national release.
Nope. So that's why it's great. You can find probably every episode somewhere on the internet.
well, I've tried to look for them. I again, it's the same thing of, you know, TVO. I was talking to Jed Mackay. He goes, it's all about the music, right? I personally would love to have like a box set of today's special. I would love.
It was
Yeah.
Very
pirated
expensive.
and it was pirated and put out as a VHS set.
Really?
And I was
No,
given.
but not all the shows.
No, I was given it, and in fact, I think I probably have about 5 VHS copies.
Yeah.
It's all in, Nina, it's in my garage, and you know all about my garage, what's
Yes.
going on in there these days.
Yes. You were talking about the music, how important it was. And
yes.
so if you didn't know this, our album was nominated for a Juno. And so it was pretty exciting to be nominated, you know, with Robert
Go to the
Munch
Juno.
and Fred Penner and Sharon Lawson Pram, and you know, like we were in there with them, and it was really quite exciting. And my quick story is that we, Bobby and Nerene and Jeff and I went down in a big black limousine. We're all dressed to the nines.
Tuxedos.
We were all sat in the nominees section, and I will tell you that in front of me was Tina Turner, because her producer was Canadian or something, so she qualified. And Tina Turner was sitting in front of me with all this hair, and I touched her hair. She wouldn't know I had done it. Lots of extensions and stuff. And sitting next to me was this really cute person, and I didn't know who it was. And this person left. And the next thing I know it, they're coming out on the stage with a ripped wedding gown and cowboy boots.
Oh, Katie.
Who was it? Katie Lang?
Lang.
Oh wow!
Katie Lang was sitting right next to me. Hi. You know?
I thought it was me, Nina. Check
What,
this
huh?
out.
Oh, that's from that night.
That's that night. I happened to
Lovely.
find it
Oh my
All
God.
tuxedo.
Wow.
It was
a
so
few
exciting.
years back, and I put it up
Anyway,
on my wall.
I
What's
think we
that mean?
lost to Bob Munch.
Well, that's not a bad person to lose to.
No.
Hey,
anyway,
I was nominated for a genie. The last year they gave the first year rather, they gave awards for school children's television programming, and I was doing a show, a CBC show called what was it called, Nina? What's that?
Guess what?
Guess what?
With Tabby Johnson.
And I was nominated for a best thing award for that, and I lost it to Graham Greene.
Wow. Well, that was a pretty good segue. What we had. Oh, were you gonna say, Cheryl?
Well, I have a couple of things I'd like to add. I'd like to go back to the thing about how hard physically it is to be a puppeteer.
Okay.
Yes.
And one thing, when I was working on Fraggle Rock, and different directors would come in each week, and they'd try to do these great big long scenes, and everybody's,
Oh, yeah.
We'd tell these new guys that would come in, because they were all guys, go home tonight and take a pound of butter out of your fridge and hold it up in the air.
Yeah.
And then you'll decide how long a scene can be. And every time they'd come back the next day and go, oh my goodness, I had no idea. So that, and one time also I went to a chiropractor, and they said, your body is so strange because your right side is so much longer or different than your left side. So it has a very big impact on your body. And the other thing I'd like to say is about the wonderful Nikki Tilroe, because way back when, before I'd done any television, my ex and I had done puppet shows, and at that time, Nova Scotia, believe it or not, had puppetry as their provincial art form, and they had a festival, and they'd bring different people in. So we went, and Nikki was giving a workshop, and she talked about what a puppet is, and it's an idea in motion. And she said, you have to know how to do everything that puppet does with your own body before you put it into the puppet. And so she encouraged us all to take dance classes. And I remember I was a new mother. I was living here in Charlottetown then, and going to my very first dance class with, just recently having my first baby and everything, and never having had a dance class in my life. And just, Benny and the Jets was the music, and just really getting to understand the physical nature. If you're going to be a very good puppeteer, you have to very much know how to make the movement of what that puppet you're going to make that puppet do, whether it's a pennypacker or it's just a stick that you're moving, you're making an idea come alive. And so that had a huge impact. And flash forward, I don't know, maybe 5 years later, not even 3 years later, we were living in Halifax, and Bob Stutt had come into our world, and he bumped into us when he was hitchhiking at one point, and he was a library student, and he met us, and he went back to Toronto and decided when he got a job in a library, he'd take on the puppet shows, right? And then he got transferred to Halifax, so we saw him again, and we were on our way to the Puppeteers of America festival somewhere in maybe Maine. And we had to drive because I was very pregnant at the time and could not fly. So we brought Bobby with us, and Nikki did some brilliant performance. My memory is it was Skating Panda Bears or something, her company. And Bob Stutt was so impressed and so overwhelmed by her skills that he said, oh man, I'd go and study with her. And I said, okay. So I went and found Nikki and introduced the two of them. And Bob ended up dumping Halifax, which I was sorry to see because I adored him, and moved back to Ontario and trained and worked with Nikki, as did Karen Vallot. And so both of them are very skilled puppeteers, very physical, precise puppeteers. And so I feel also sort of lovely that I could connect people.
Sherry, you remember Nikki had her company called Frog Print Theater. So she was a puppeteer and built puppets, and that hasn't been mentioned yet. So yeah, I think the dance and the puppeteering thing is really, really important. And I very much remember whenever we were doing a scene that that required movement or dance, because we did all dance. And I remember Cheryl, but especially Cheryl and myself, everything the puppet does, you're doing with your body. So if the puppet is supposed to, go stomp, 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 you're doing that with your own feet. And all of that just translates and it comes through the puppet. So no matter what the puppet's doing, you're doing it with your body underneath. And I remember Mrs. Pennypacker, she's moving around like this, and Cheryl's down there. I don't know. I have a fair bit of under the scenes video that would.
Oh man!
What?
Oh man!
Photos and stuff.
And look at Sam. There was Sam tap dancing one day.
Oh, that's right.
When they filmed his feet, and it was my legs.
Our feet. I just watched that, Bobby.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a good segue, because I was going to ask a couple of questions, because we're almost done here. We're almost out of time. Okay. But do you guys, other than your puppets, because I know Bob, you have Sam, and I know Nina, you have Muffy. She's right there behind you.
One of the five.
There's 5 Muffies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There were two or three Sams also. One's in the museum.
Oh yeah.
In Ottawa, in Hull. I think a Sam and Muffy are both there, the Museum of Civilization.
They are there.
Yeah.
And they're going to be there for the big puppet exhibition that's opening this September. 10,000 square feet of puppet exhibition of puppets from Canadian children's television going back to the very beginning in the 50s.
Uncle Chichimus.
Sorry?
That's awesome. Now, do you have any other today's special paraphernalia? Does any of you have anything?
Yep.
Well, Noreen Young built both Sam and Muffy, and she has the most incredible collection of puppets that she created. You might want to look at her. Before we go, if we're running out of time, I want to say something that I'm so embarrassed and sad and ashamed that we didn't get Bob Stutt on this meeting.
There's a part 2, Bobby.
We tried.
Yes.
We tried. Yeah. There will be a part 2.
And I'm hoping also that that Clive shows up in a part 2.
Yes, I hope.
Honestly, I mean, we had, over the course of all those years, we had various other directors step in at certain times, and then you really got to know.
It was only ever Clive.
No. There was
Ted Regan came in.
Yeah, there were some others who came in, and there was this guy Bob, and they were Robert, and I don't remember his last name, and it sort of reminded you or showed you. I learned so much from Clive about producing and directing and just how to deal with talent, and he was warm and unshakable and steady and diplomatic. And I am going to tell one story. I am going to tell this story before because it was spectacular. And again, a testimony to his, what's the word? Like you said, implacable. I mean, truly, so this is before cell phones. And I had a gig earlier that morning because I was a singer and I had a rock band and I had a university show that morning before we were shooting in the afternoon. So I was in my, I don't know if you remember this, but I was in my full like rock star getup with like a green mini skirt and fishnet stockings and like it was really just right. So we got in the car and there was an accident on the highway. Oh. And we didn't have cell phones. I couldn't get in touch with anyone. I've got to be on set, and how much is it costing for someone to not be there for hours? I was 2 hours late. I showed up apoplectic. And what did Clive do? He rubbed my shoulders.
Wow.
Really?
He rubbed my shoulders. I was practically in tears. I was like, I'm so sorry. And I mean, I looked like something out of, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And it just was like, he just rubbed my shoulders. It's okay. We'll set you down and everything. And then, so 2 things. One, kindness unlimited. 2, brilliant man, because screaming at me is not going to get a lot out of me.
He was so brilliant. I want to add another insight, just another facet of who Clive was. I was afraid going into this show. I was told how accomplished he was and how precise he was, and I was intimidated. I have to be honest. I was afraid of him practically. And we went into that studio the first day, and Clive came into the studio with his tie tied around his head like this and hanging down like this.
Whoa.
Wow.
And I said,
He always wore a jacket and a tie, didn't he?
Man, that guy is brilliant. Not only he knows how to do all of that stuff, and he also knows how to make people comfortable and be a funny guy, you know.
The goofy part.
I think we all just loved him.
Yeah, absolutely adored him.
We did try to get Clive on the show, and he says that he wants to do it, and we will do it, but the timing, the schedules were off.
Okay.
So that's why I said this is, reunion part 1. So there will be another one, and again, you guys are all welcome. You guys are all welcome back to come and go and do, because my goal is I want to reunite as many of you as I possibly can.
Well, that would be great.
As many of you as I can, because again, you guys worked miracles for me when I would have a bad day at work. Yeah, when I was 8. Yeah. I would have a bad day at school, or I would always just watch Today's Special, and you guys were all my friends. You were all my friends. Yes.
When you were asking what's your favorite show, well, one of them was Phil, when Phil came into the store and he was the photographer. It was a very heavy show because he was an alcoholic, and he was he was really hard on Muffy and telling her not to tell anybody and so on. That was a very hard show to do. There was a pall over the studio for 3 days when we did that. It was so intense. And so many people on our set had been touched by alcoholism. And Clive was really nervous about putting that show out there because it was kind of controversial at the time in the 80s. And do you remember that show at all?
Was that Barry Baldero?
No, it was Fraggle Rock.
No.
Gerald Parks?
It was Gerard Parks.
Gerard Parks.
He stayed in character on our breaks and our lunch. And it was very difficult because he stayed in character as this kind of mean guy. And I was just so freaking depressed after those 3 days. A lot of people were.
Kevin, we have more stories to tell. We have to tell you about Angelo Mosca, and we have, a big football player. We have more stories to tell. And
he said we had 100 hours.
We do, but YouTube only allows me to have a certain amount of time, right?
Yeah.
So I do have to cut it off. However, as I said on my previous show, when I say goodbye, that doesn't mean we all have to go. I can sit here and listen to you guys all day, every day. I would sit here and listen to, again, you guys are all my...
but in part 2, then you'll start going, I heard that already.
Oh, no. I'll do as many parts as necessary.
Yeah.
I'll do a whole series if necessary. I also wanted to show you something. I think I showed this on Facebook a little bit, but I'm not sure whether you all seen it.
Oh, yeah.
I had my producer Ashley here, who you guys met. Oh, by the way, Bob, you never met Ashley.
No, I haven't.
Well, this is Ashley. She always comes on the show at least once.
Hello, Ashley.
This is Ashley.
Bob. How nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
She is solely responsible for this podcast happening.
Yeah, it's not so.
She really is. She's like the brains behind it.
Boy, you must have been watching our show when you were like 2 or 3 or something.
Oh no.
No, she wasn't watching it. He had shown it to her.
Oh no,
Oh,
I
no.
watched it.
Oh, she knew all about it.
Oh, are you old enough to have watched it like while it was being broadcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
You are?
I don't believe
Not
it.
so
but there you
young.
are.
You look
No,
And you
my
know, when
37-year-old self thanks you.
Oh,
When-
wow.
when
Good for
people
you.
say- When people say, I know your show, I always say to them, what are you, like 31 or 32 or something? And now I realize because of you,
40.
Kevin, I have to start saying, so
40.
what are you, like, in your 40s?
Yeah.
Or 41 or-
It's
I'm
40,
gonna have to
Bobby.
change it. Yes, I
Well,
know.
I wanted to show you this, but then it's also this
Oh, wow.
on the back of the mug too. I'll bring it a little closer.
Yeah.
Ashley had this made, right?
Nice.
Ashley had this made. Oh, there will be no liquid in this mug. Nothing. This is going to go on my shelf
Don't put it in the dishwasher
of
anyway.
stuff, and that's not being touched. Now, a couple more questions. And we got to go. I watched the other day the live show, the live on stage, and I know Robyn, you weren't there on the live show, and neither were you, Cheryl. But I watched the live on stage. I was there in Toronto
Oh, nice.
for that show. I was there, and now to the point where now I'm sitting here, God knows how many years later, talking with the four of you. It just makes my day. So like you guys are my celebrities, and I'm not afraid to say this.
Well,
You know, like I don't watch
you made
movies.
this a pleasure for us, really.
I don't watch movies very often. I don't watch TV. I'm in the media too. I have a bachelor's in television and all that sort of stuff. But I don't watch movies and stuff. But you guys are my celebrities. Ashley can attest. When Nina said she would come on, and Robyn said she would come on, and Cheryl and Bob, I was over the moon like a little kid.
Because
was like
you
a
know
little-
what it is? We love to think about the happy times in our childhood. I think everybody gets so nostalgic about our show. If I have a doctor or someone like that who looks around 40, I say, I don't mean to ask you how old you are, but did you watch today's special? And then they go, oh my God, it was my favorite show. And I always say, well, I played Muffy. And they go nuts. I had this happen with a border guard coming from Mexico into Texas many years ago.
Wow.
And because it was on Nickelodeon, and this border guard is standing there, what have you got, you know? And then he said, and what's with the license plate that says puppet? And so I told him, and he just turned into this little 7-year-old boy. And that's what happens constantly with people your age and older.
I met someone around that age, and he was so excited. He called his mother.
Okay, I'm going to admit something right now. I did. I did. I absolutely did. I did because when all four of you confirmed to be when all four of you confirmed to be on the show, I called my mom. I go, guess what? I'm talking to Mrs. Pennypacker, Muffy, TXL, and Sam. And she goes, from today's special? And he goes, yeah. I said, man, you watch that show like a religion. And I'm like, yes, I did. I loved you all. You guys were great. See, I have so
cry.
Well, you know, I'm only telling the truth, man. You know, it's just you guys touched me so much. It's ridiculous. It's because
no shame in that.
I can't forget you.
But what an
mother.
honor, though. What an honor it is to have been able, to have been part of something that has touched people in that way. I mean, I feel so blessed to have been a part.
It's a nice legacy, Robyn.
Now I have two more questions, and then we really got to end the recording. And I know Cheryl's got to go.
Said that 3 times.
I know. I can't help it. Do you guys ask to do your voices every now and then? Have you guys been like, okay, you played Muffy. Can you say something in rhyme? Have you ever been asked that?
Oh, yeah, a lot. You know, I have to think really quickly in rhyme. I'm
not asking you to say something now. Unless you want to.
Give a holler to Kevin Collar.
Oh,
There you go.
Oh, that's
But
very nice.
That's one thing I have to admire rappers for, is that they can rap, do these spontaneous raps that do rhyme. I have to admire, and I always think of Muffy.
Now, one quick question. This is the last one, I promise. Where do you see Muffy, TXL, Sam, and Miss Pennypacker in 2022?
In 2022,
Mm-hmm.
in their green rooms called garbage bags, and
No. The actual character. Like, do you see? Like I was telling you the other day.
I'm an app.
You're a TXL app.
I'm Siri.
Good
Right.
one, Robyn.
Yeah.
Hey, Robyn, I think that's so cool.
Muffy's a pole dancer
Ah,
and teaches pole dancing for strength and
Really?
exercise.
On one side, mostly on one side.
Where do you see Mrs. Pennypacker, Cheryl?
she's well up in years, but full of beans, in a seniors shared facility where she, I wouldn't say dominates the dining room, but she really likes to invigorate it.
What about Sam? Where do you see Sam, Bob?
Oh, Sam is sitting in a nice place somewhere, and the sun's shining in the window, and he's rocking and looking out at the beautiful trees and everything outside, and he's saying, "It used to be a somebody, used to be big."
Well, thank you very, very, very much to the four of you for doing this. It is such an honor to talk with the four of you, and
Thank you for bringing us together.
Oh,
Thanks for that.
that's no problem. I can't wait.
Goodbye.
All right, bye, Cheryl. I cannot wait for part
Cheryl.
2. See you guys later, and I'm gonna see you next time on today's podcast. Bye.
Bye, everyone.